Oh no. I'm committed to this DC Universe thing now. Okay, this is going to be a quick recap of episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Young Justice Outsiders. I'll try to be as spoiler-free as possible, but it's going to be so damn hard because there's some pretty good stuff that takes place in these episodes. Episode 4 picks up where the first 3 left off and is kind of the fallout of Brion, aka Geoforce, having to leave his homeland of Markovia, Artemis kind of looking out for the new girl Halo and determining like her mysterious past. The main arc in that episode was more about Dick Grayson, Nightwing, kind of coming to terms with the fact that he's back in the thick of being in a team, even though he set out to not be a team leader, even though the first 3 episodes show that he's perfectly fine with being a team leader. It leaned more into the comedy of stuff where it was Dick Grayson and the 3 Harpers, Roy, and Guardian Roy, all working undercover for 2 Armed Roy's security firm because he's all grown up and domesticated and, does like security and shipments and stuff for his day job. And so he seeks out Nightwing's help and the help of his clone brothers to secure his shipment of VR headsets, which is lampooning Pokemon Go. Like a little bit of a dated running joke so far in the series, but it's not overbearing. Watch, I say that now and then later on in the season it turns out those VR headsets are going to be utilized for like mind control or something. Surprise me, Greg Wiseman and Brandon Vietti. So there was a bit of a comedic slant to their particular conundrum of securing the shipment of VR headsets, but it did eventually lead to a good point of character development for Dick Grayson here, where Roy Harper is basically calling him out on being pretty wishy-washy on the team leader thing when he so obviously is a team leader, and is kind of like saying, just do what you do naturally, man, in a sense. And the reason Dick kind of inadvertently goes to him is he's seeking out that voice of reason that'll ground him into the right decision, the way Wally West used to be. That was kind of cool. It was cool to see Roy Harper be a little bit lighter. Clearly having a daughter has lightened his mood a bit. It was cool to see him not be a completely like somber, morose person that he was throughout a majority of season 1 and the little he was in season 2. It was cool to see Arsenal Roy Harper not be a complete dick and actually have matured a little bit and work with a team, even if that team is mainly comprised of him. Even though it was a bit of a lighter episode, it served a good character building purpose for Dick Grayson primarily, and you get to learn a little bit more about Halo and about Geoforce. There were some emotional moments here. Artemis takes Halo to observe a reunion of sorts that longtime fans of the show, when you see this reunion, it devastates you and it really pulls at your heartstrings. Get out your hankies for that. The second episode, episode 5, deals with Miss Martian taking a lot of the younger Young Justice members to New Genesis to help out Bear, who was introduced as one of the Tomorrow People in, I believe it was season 1. There's an interesting twist with regards to who the adversary is in this episode. It's a character I don't believe we've seen on the show before, but provides an interesting dynamic for Miss Martian and shows kind of how she's grown as a character. A good moment for her to shine, especially since the first couple of episodes certainly had her more in the background, as the first arc was more about Nightwing and his covert team. The younger members of Young Justice still doing their stuff. Blue Beetle's there, Impulse Kid Flash is there, Wonder Girl's there, Static is there, and they all fill out their roles pretty well. None of them really stood out much. They do introduce the new team member, I forget, 13 is involved in her name, I think her name is 13, I can't remember. She's sort of a magic user who's like an apprentice of Zatanna's. She really wasn't given too much to do, so we'll see what they do with her. But the focus for this episode was to introduce the character of Forager, who is adorable. Instantly like Forager, this character, I don't know much about the New Genesis, the New Gods, or that whole mythology, other than dark side and apocalypse stuff. I mean, I know of characters like Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Highfather, Orion, all that stuff. Orion shows up, not quite in the way you expect, but he shows up. And Forager, I really didn't know much about, but he's a likable enough character. Really kind of this wide-eyed innocent, but can hold his own, certainly. And that leads into the next episode, episode 6, in which Forager comes to Earth, meets the other team members, meets Brion, meets Violet, and they end up going off on a crazy little adventure, a la Dick Grayson, Wally West, and Calder did in the pilot episode of Young Justice. They're pretty over with the comparisons, with Dick Grayson taking on Batman's role, essentially from that first episode, and saying, like, you will not be doing this again. You will not be disobeying our direct orders, and Dick Grayson having to kind of own up to the fact that he's the adult in the room now. And they end up going up against the League of Shadows, League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul's whole club there. And it was a fun enough episode. Plenty of action, plenty of intrigue. Brion's goal and motivation is really well established, and even though you can kind of guess where that twist is going to occur, I'm still anticipating some drastic changes to, again, a very familiar storyline from Teen Titans. Shout out to voice actor Josh Keaton for reprising his role as Black Spider in a couple of the opening minutes of the episode, which took me back to the fantastical year of 2008, where he did some pretty spectacular voice work, very much in the vein of this character of Black Spider, Thwippity Thwip Thwip. And yeah, this episode seeks out to establish the core group of new outsiders, which would be Geoforce, Forager, and Halo. They do have good chemistry together. Like I said, Forager's kind of adorable. Halo's got that sweet, innocent, but scary vibe to her, and already I can see that whole being resurrected thing going to some very uncomfortable places when it comes to utilizing that particular power. Geoforce, while having reason to be rightly mad, at least by the end of this, he doesn't fall prey to Superboy syndrome where he'll always be perpetually mad. Hopefully he grows and develops from here. He admits to learning from his mistakes in this episode. And, oh man, I can't spoil this. Let's just say in the last 3 minutes or so of the show, of episode 6, there's a couple of cameos. Max, please start watching this show so I can talk to you about it and geek out about it. Even though this set of episodes took some very creative liberties with its storytelling, like I said, the 4th episode had more of a comedic edge to it than I was used to probably from this series. It still worked. Episode 5 had a solid enough foundation of sci-fi action and gave Miss Martian a good platform for further character development, since it felt like she was kind of sidelined for the first 4 episodes. Episode 6, we get to see these new team members work together. We get to learn a little bit more about them. Overall, they're some likable heroes, and I'm interested to see where their story goes. So DC Universe has got me hooked for this season of Outsiders so far. We'll see what else develops. Until next time, stay whelmed, everybody.